Hey everybody, it's Peter, and this is the Kawasaki Hybrid, the Z, and this is the Hybrid Ninja. And you can call them by their proper names, but really what it is a hybrid. And I've been driving a whole bunch of electric motorcycles lately, including I haven't spent time recently on a Zero motorcycle, but I know some Zero motorcycles are literally giving 2/3 off just to try to sell electric motorcycles. And the reality is, us motorcyclists don't want to buy electric motorcycles. But here's the thing, I just got off this bike here, and I think we're getting it all, or not we, I think the customers are right. I think the manufacturers are getting it all wrong by trying to innovate in the electric motorcycle space instead of trying to innovate in the hybrid motorcycle space. So in this video, I'm going to make the case and the plea to manufacturers to start innovating more on hybrids, because as far as I know, Kawasaki is the only real mainstream brand doing hybrids, but a whole bunch of people are trying to do hydrogen, Kawasaki included, where there are no filling stations, electric, which are too expensive, not enough range, and just not what people want. But the reality is the automotive industry has already shown the path to electrification, and it starts with hybrids. These things are actually pretty good. The problem with these things is they were too expensive, but I'm filming here at Jim Gilbert's Power Sports, the #1 volume Kawasaki dealer in the country, and they took 5 grand off of these plus more. These things are under 10 grand from the last time I checked, and that's 10 grand Canadian, and at that price point, you're getting a heck of a motorcycle here. Yes, they are quirky, but the point of innovation is that something should be new and something should be different, but I think people are actually gonna like these bikes if they give them a try, and I think hybrid is where you need to innovate. So that's what we're talking about in this video. I've done some basic reviews of these before, but I kind of probably glazed over it a little bit. Now that I've had experience with them, this is really where Kawasaki needs to innovate, and at the price point they're at, it's a bike that a lot of people should consider. So let's start with this review. So let's start with why you should electrify in any case. Like, there's a lot of reasons to have a gasoline motorcycle, and I'm not speaking to you if you say, hey, I will never drive anything electrified. But some of the benefits of electrification are better fuel efficiency and lower emissions. These bikes both get that, but the difference with these bikes is these bikes will sell, make it on the road to customers, and the customers will actually save fuel. I would argue that most electric motorcycles right now are not replacing gas motorcycles. They're being bought by people who want a specific thing, an EV and a motorcycle. I don't think that saves any fuel. These things actually save fuel and actually save emissions, and we're going to talk about that. The other things you can do with hybrids is you can have any kind of hybrid you want. You can have a manual transmission. Honda used to make them all the time. You can have an automatic transmission, but different versions of automatic transmissions. You could have, you know, I have a Honda Civic right now. It's got a bigger electric motor, or more horsepower electric motor than it does gas motor. You can have bigger and more gas motors and electric motors like these bikes are. But you can do all kinds of different things in all kinds of different ways. If you think about it, in the car industry it started with the Prius, but now you've got Lamborghinis and Ferraris that are hybrids, and you start to realize that there are some benefits. One of the benefits of electrification is obviously efficiency. Another huge benefit of electrification is instant boost. Like, better than a turbo, better than a supercharger, better than a nitrous boost. You could argue that, but it's better than a nitrous boost because it can refill itself. And these bikes both have that. These bikes have incredible acceleration. So we're going to talk about some of these benefits as we go through these bikes. So if we're going to have a talk about hybrids, we should talk about what we're looking at here. This is the new Ninja 500 engine. I say new Ninja 500 because it's using the Eliminator, it's using the Ninja, it's probably using some other stuff, but it's a 451cc, so it's the 500cc Ninja engine, and that's what runs this thing, except it is also paired with an electric motor. Now the difference with this is that this hybrid system can blend electric and gas together, which is what a lot of hybrids do. It can run purely electric and it can run purely gas. What I would argue with this motorcycle though is that it functions more like a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. So there's a lot of cars right now that you can plug into the wall and they will give you 30, 40, 50 or so kilometers of pure electric range before having to switch to gas and electric combined. This one, because it has a good sized battery and because it has an efficient motor, and motorcycles are efficient anyways other than aerodynamics, which we'll talk about in a second, can actually give you quite a bit of in-town electric range. Now, most hybrids today are automatic. In fact, I think almost all hybrids today are automatic. This one has an automatic-ish mode in electric, but it also is a manual transmission and it shifts gears in automatic transmission. So for instance, the Jeep Wrangler PHEV, the Wrangler 4xe, is a plug-in hybrid vehicle that also uses the transmission to shift whether it's in electric or in gas mode. This is a lot like that. But there are a whole bunch of other benefits that are added, just cool features that, again, the regular motorcyclist may or may not want, but we should talk about what you have and some of the innovation, and then talk about what these are like as regular motorcycles. So last week, about a week ago today, I was playing baseball and I pulled a hamstring. Not the most ideal thing. Good news is I can still ride a motorcycle because you don't have to really use your hamstring that much to ride a motorcycle. But moving a motorcycle around on the ground, just walking around, is difficult. This bike is running right now. I don't know, you can probably hear it a little bit through the mic. If I put it into walk mode here, the engine turns off, but it is still powered by electricity. A lot of electric bikes have a reverse mode, which makes it handier to turn around the trail or just back it up in your garage. Well, this bike also has a reverse mode. If I put it in gear, it can reverse like this. So it will walk in reverse, but it also has a walk mode where I can walk forward. That's full throttle forward and full throttle backwards. That makes it super easy for someone like me who has a bum hamstring right now. Now that's just one example of the innovation that can happen through hybrids, through electrification. Again, motorcyclists don't need it, but I can tell you one thing, it makes it easier. It's kind of cool, and if you can do it, why not? But the real thing you guys are going to be interested in is the acceleration. So let's take a look at the dash for a second here, and we'll talk about the acceleration. I also should point out that both these bikes fit me like a Zed would. This one has handlebars, and like a Ninja would. That one has clip-ons. It is a little more of an upright Ninja, so closer to something like the Ninja 500 kind of feeling, but exceptional acceleration. So we're going to talk about that acceleration and show you some features in the dash right now. So normally when I'm here at Jim Gilbert's, I film inside. I know that we're outside. I know that I'm in the worst possible light, but this is just where I chose to film today. So I just want to basically show you a couple things in the dash. You have a fuel gauge over here. That makes sense. You have a battery gauge over here. Now that battery will self-charge both through the engine running and through regenerative braking. In other words, when you brake, when you slow down, that kind of thing, it will regenerate. So you only have to worry about this one the same as a regular gas vehicle. You still have a tachometer up top, and it says hybrid and EV. If you're familiar with hybrid and EVs, you kind of get a sense of what that is. Hybrid blends the electric and gas. EV is just EV. So one other thing I'll show you here, we'll just start it up here for a second if you can. Starting it up there, you can hear it running, kind of doesn't have a starting sound, but I'm gonna hit the walk button just for a second here. We hit the walk mode, and if I put it in gear like that, I can roll the throttle backwards, like roll it normally to go forward, or reverse the throttle. So reversing the throttle will actually take it back. That's just how that works right there. Take it out of walk mode again, and you're gonna have it there in first gear. We're gonna put it back into neutral there because the gear shifts can be controlled on this one by a trigger and a thumb shifter. So a little bit of innovation, but nothing too unfamiliar here for the average rider. You just have to turn this bike to the start position, which right now we haven't done, which is what it's telling us to do, and off we go. So let's just turn it to the start position for a second. The range is not going to show. There's electric range here as well. Let me just switch. EV range is 11 kilometers right now. So when you think about 11 kilometers, again, that can kind of change a little bit as you ride, but that will easily do your electric range in town. And again, this one hasn't been driven. It can have more, it can have less. And then we should also talk about the acceleration. The acceleration is 1000 cc type acceleration when you hit the e-boost button. So we're going to show you the controls to show you how they work. But again, it shows the innovation in hybrids that make this, you know, kind of an exciting bike compared to an electric bike. So let's just show you the controls really quickly. We're going to start on the opposite side. We normally go to the clutch side. There is no clutch. We're going to go to the throttle side this time. So taking a look at the throttle side here, the only difference you have here is you can roll a little bit forward for that reverse. Everything else is exactly the same as it would normally be, in that this is a kill switch, start switch. You have an adjustable brake lever here, so that's kind of nice to have. And then you have this e-boost button. That is what gives you that insane acceleration. It's just a short-term boost, but most of us riding normal motorcycles would love to have 1000 cc acceleration on our 451 cc twin cylinder. you'd love to have that 1000cc type acceleration, and you could get it just with that little e-boost button. So that makes it kind of cool, because really the times you want to accelerate really hard, you've got that e-boost button right there. Now we're going to come out here and come across the dash here. Sorry for my poor camera work here, and just show you what you have here, because this is also unique to this bike. So try to show you as best I can. There is a little gray button down here, that is your downshift. There's also a little trigger up here, that's your upshift. There's another trigger that's harder to reach, that's your normal flash to pass, and you push away, it's your high beams, a lot like the Ninja 1000 or something like that. And then you have some different modes here. There's a sport mode and an eco mode, and you can have a selection switch. If you just touch these and don't hold them, that actually switches through your menus exactly like Kawasaki's do on most of their menus. This will control the lower menu, this will control the upper menu. That's how I got you to that electric range figure that could show. If you hold these down, it goes into sport mode. If you hold this down, it goes into eco mode. So basically you have a drive mode that tops out a little early in eco mode, sport mode drive mode that tops out a little, kind of has a different power curve and puts you in a higher sport mode. And then you have that e-boost mode that gives you that 1000cc like acceleration, which is kind of fun. Then you have an automatic transmission in manual mode. I've played with that a little bit in the short bit I've done, and basically I think you're gonna probably prefer to ride in automatic. In electric mode, I could get it in manual, in the automatic, or sorry, you're gonna leave it in manual mode. The electric mode, I did a little bit of automatic transmission, that works fine. One cool thing is if you ever just come to a stop, it's gonna be in first gear, it's gonna be ready to go. So you can upshift, downshift as you want to, but it'll be in first gear. And remember, this is the Ninja 500 engine. This is a capable and fun little engine. Then you have the hold this button down for hybrid or EV. Again, EV gives you that up to 11 kilometers of range that we just saw on this particular bike right now the way it is, and you can sort of stretch that and shrink it as you go. But that's basically all of your in-town driving. If you want to do it on electric, you could totally do that. And electric is kind of fun to drive around in town in. It's certainly very quiet, and it's just a different kind of feel. So if you wanted to, you can. Hold it back down, you go back to the regular mode. And remember, this bike is self-charging. You're never having to plug it in. You got your signals, your horn, your four-way flashers, and that's it. This bike's actually very easy to understand. It just seems confusing because there's different features and different options. So let's talk about why I think manufacturers need to innovate in the hybrid space using these exact bikes. First of all, let's just start in the car space. The other day I drove a Can-Am Spyder. Actually, it was a Can-Am Canyon. It's a three-wheeled vehicle by them, and it got significantly worse mileage than my Honda Civic Hybrid. Now, my Honda Civic Hybrid isn't a specific hybrid model. It's just the top two trims of Honda Civics right now are automatics, and it got worse mileage. In fact, my Kawasaki Z900 RS SE regularly returns worse mileage than my Honda Civic Hybrid. So if you're sitting there thinking, hey, motorcycles get great fuel efficiency anyways, they absolutely do, but the reality is more and more of us, including the average mid-level or higher Civic driver, are now in hybrids that get great fuel efficiency. And the interesting thing about my Honda Civic Hybrid is it is also the most powerful Honda Civic ever other than the Type R. It's faster 0 to 60 than the Civic Si. And that's what you're starting to look at here. You're getting 250cc fuel efficiency, so there's no concern about this being less efficient than your hybrid car, but you're also getting 1000cc acceleration, which is going to be significantly better than your hybrid vehicle. And then adding in features like the availability of automatic transmissions, which are working their way into the industry. I drove Yamaha's automatic transmission just recently. It's okay, it's decent, it's better than I thought. So now you have automatic transmissions that you can fit into this system here, and you have pure electric modes on a non-plug-in hybrid. What that means is you don't have to plug this bike in ever, and you still have the benefits of electrification. What that also means is you don't have range issues. You fill the tank like you would on a Ninja 500 and you go. These bikes are going to be criticized by some people because of the longer wheelbase, which is what Kawasaki chose to do to put the electric motor in, for not being as nimble as something like a Ninja 500. But the reality is, for all of us who are just driving on the street, these things are still regular street sport bikes, and they're perfectly good at street sport activities. Plus you have that acceleration that's crazy. Plus you have the EV around town, which again, if you're a motorcycle manufacturer, giving me 11 kilometers of EV around town and blending that gas and electric all the way is going to save more fuel than giving me an electric motorcycle that doesn't have enough range or speed for me to actually want to buy it and use it. This is where manufacturers need to be innovating. This is where we can end up with bikes that people will want to ride, and bikes that give us innovative new features, and bikes that will drive with better fuel efficiency and lower emissions. So, would I buy one of these? Well, when it was at the regular price, Short answer is I wouldn't. I mean, I didn't. But at this price, they become pretty interesting because it's just a little bit more than Kawasaki's 650cc Ninja. And for that, you get a little bit bigger bike, which is totally fine by me. You also get a bike that gets significantly better fuel efficiency and has significantly better acceleration. And you're in a bike that's comfortable, high-tech, and you get a few other cool little features. These are now priced at the point where if Kawasaki and other manufacturers can produce hybrids at this price point, I genuinely think there's a segment of motorcycle riders that would start to consider these bikes. This is where we need to innovate, and with these $5,000 off, plus I think Jim Gilbert's has extra money off that, these become bikes that make sense for a whole lot of people. So, where should we be innovating? In electric vehicles for motorcycles? Not if nobody's gonna buy them, not if they're too expensive, not if you can produce them without range, and not if you're gonna produce them without enough speed. But in here, you have all the range of a regular motorcycle, you have better efficiency that actually people will buy and use in the real world, you can get pure electric range on these things, you get the features, every feature an electric vehicle has, you have in this, including the incredible acceleration and electric range around town, which can recharge. So right now, I have 11 kilometers of electric range, but this thing recharges on its own. I might have 11 kilometers more, 11 kilometers more. Kawasaki's electric bikes don't give you enough range to make them everyday vehicles for a lot of people. Same thing with all the other electric bikes that I've given. It doesn't make sense. These are bikes that are gonna do what you need it to do, and at this price, these are bikes that regular motorcycle riders who are willing to try something innovative with a few extra features should absolutely try. And that is my take on 2025 electric motorcycles and hybrid motorcycles. Hybrids actually have a place in the market, and they can sell because there's so much room for innovation. You can make hybrids in all kinds of different ways, in all kinds of different styles, with all kinds of different benefits for all kinds of different riders. This is where we need to spend our research money, and this is where customers will end up spending their hard-earned money as well. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and hopefully we'll do some more regular reviews for you very, very soon. We'll talk to you soon.